Welcome back to BizTalks. In case you are just now tuning in, my name is Rick Gutierrez. I am your host and your business advocate. We are having great conversations with amazing business professionals, business owners, and this week we have an amazing entrepreneur, law expert that is going to be sharing some information with us, some knowledge so that we can continue to learn. And I am happy and excited to welcome back Abigail Stolfe back with us. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you so much. I enjoyed our first meeting and I'm enjoying our second one as well.
Yeah, we just started, so we're having a good time already. But it's one of those things to where when you have great business professionals and they know their stuff, they've been there, they've done that, and they have tons of experience. Obviously, you know the level of success or the struggles that you go through success, but you also know the struggles that just lead to struggles as well, because we've been there and done that, right?
Yeah.
So let's have a conversation about your first major case as you came into family law, Abigail. I think that's something that our viewers, want to know because they want to get to know you a little bit more, right? They want to know a little bit more about you and how you go about your cases, particularly your first cases. So early in your career, what was one of the first significant cases you handled and what lessons did you learn from it?
Obviously, I can't talk about any specific case, but
Right,
there
right.
are a ton of memorable cases from my first trial to the first case I handled, which was ultimately a published decision. Um, every case presents its own valuable lessons, which I really take through to the future cases and through my practice. Um, I can tell you that in my first trial, I was I was fresh out of the gate. And I learned at that time the importance of discovery. And what discovery is basically an exchange of information between two parties. And it's not always free flowing, which is why some people go to trial. Um, but I learned the importance of demanding it, following up with subpoenas, reviewing it. That's crucial because a lot of attorneys get it, but maybe don't review it as critically as you would want them to. Critiquing it, I often critique the discovery I get, and I send a second demand or a third demand, and organizing it. And the reason I like to do that, and this again comes out of my first trial, is because once you establish what you have, you can establish and prove the theme of your case. And it is the theme of the case that keeps the case organized, keeps the clients focused. And so that when they're sitting at trial and they are, in this stressful situation, they remember this is the theme. This is what I'm trying to prove. This is why I'm here. And it's really important to ease people's emotions because it is very stressful to sit in front of a judge and tell your life story.
Hmm. Absolutely. So, from many, many, many years ago, potentially even decades, there is this one old saying that basically goes, you measure twice to cut once, right? And that is basically what you were going for in terms of, how important discovery is and being able to learn that throughout the process because it's like preparing for anything that you're going to do. This show is one particular example, right? I mean, we talked about it before. We know what we're discussing and we know what we're delivering so that our viewers can have a much better experience. So it's all about preparation. It's all about being able to have all of the knowledge so that we can continue to be of great service to as many people as possible. So thank you for sharing that. My next question for you is, about maybe describing a turning point or a landmark that helped you establish your reputation in the field. There had to have been like one particular pivotal moment that, you shined more than ever. I'm sure you shine all the time.
I
Uh,
am a
Go ahead.
bright star, just always aglow.
We
um,
have to. I mean, we have to tell ourselves that, right?
I, there are a lot of, in my own mind, there are a lot of landmark or pivotal moments in my career where I don't know that I necessarily feel as though I was shining or that I was receiving recognition or acknowledgement. More so, I felt as though I had learned a critical lesson, whatever it came out of that case. I would say probably the time that stands out the most as far as recognition within the legal community, that would be the second major case that I had tried. And that case was published, and it deals with college contribution. And still to this day, I mean, I think that was probably 18 years ago at this point, it is still a seminal case when you're dealing with college contribution, how much, how, when, and where. And so to talk to a colleague who doesn't realize I'm the one who tried that case and have them debating the case with me, it's kind of fun.
That's when you say kind of fun, that's one of the things that we are always, it's like the end result, right? It's like the icing on the cake, because that's what we're always working towards, right? And being able to have that type of, I guess, that pivotal moment when we realize that, that's when we can kind of pat ourselves on the back a little bit and say, good job, now move on to the next one.
Yes, now moving on.
Because there's always going to be a next one, right?
Of course.
So, how do you approach building a case strategy, especially under the pressures of high-stakes family law disputes? Now, I know that you cannot go into very deep detail, but just kind of give us an overview, if you would.
Well, so the case strategy is interesting because a lot of people think you can't determine that until after you've gone through all the work of the case. And for me, what I do is in my initial meeting with someone, at my very first meeting, we have a very candid discussion. And I don't sugarcoat and I don't try to sell what I can give someone or offer someone. I tell them very realistically what I think that they should expect. And when I do that, I ask them either in that moment or in reflection to prioritize their desired outcome. And when I do that, I ask them to take a 1, 2, 3 approach, not a subcategories, and tell me what you want if there's one important thing you want. And oftentimes people can't do that, and they can't do that in that moment, which is why I send them off with homework. Because by sitting down and reflecting on the complexities of their own case, they can understand the experience on which they are about to embark. Because this is not a simple experience, especially in a high conflict, high net worth, or complex case. So when they are finally able to tell me their priorities, right? It is more important to me that I see my children than retaining my entire 401k balance. Now I can establish the theme. And it's that theme that drives the case to trial, which is what I just talked about. It's the theme that we use that then gives us the theories, that then tells us what discovery we should be looking for. So it's really a reverse engineering that starts on day one.
Yeah, I believe so. I think that you hit the nail on the head. Everything begins on day one. How we're going to move forward. It is a pivotal moment. How you start it's very crucial. I'm going to go off script a little bit here, Abigail, and I'm going to ask you because we have some viewers that are particularly either in law school or maybe just fresh out of law school, and they are wondering. What would Abigail do in this case, right? So if you have a brand new associate, I mean, what is your advice to those new attorneys?
So I actually every year intern. I have summer interns every year, and I take them from college, from law school, right? So I have one from college, one from law school, um, and sometimes after law school before their clerkship. So each phase I give them different advice. But so if I had an intern who was coming to me in law school, I would say to them, my best advice for you is two things. One, do as many different internships or clinics as you can to make sure that you're going into a practice area where you have passion and where you can find yourself sitting in 25 years. Because there's nothing worse than going to work and being unhappy. The other piece of advice I give them is to clerk for a judge. You gain a lot of knowledge by working in the judiciary because you see so many different people's experiences. And that's very, very eye-opening to the world that you're walking into and how to help people. If I was sitting with one of my newest attorneys, a new admittee, for them, I make them start from the bottom. I know it sounds terrible. You go to law school and you have to start from the very bottom, but you do. You start, in my office anyway, as basically a paralegal. You're doing all the filings, you're doing all the financial documents, things that I would give to a paralegal. I give to my young associates, because the only way to know how to read it is to do it. The only way to know how to read a tax return is to analyze it for discovery, right? The only way to know it is to live it. So that's what I do require. I say start at the very bottom. I started at the bottom. It was the best thing I did.
Yeah, and I was getting ready to ask you that exact same thing. I'm sure that you had your starting point, right? And you had to get your feet wet at some point and gain that, that trust from your attorneys that are, have been there for a while. And that's, there's nothing like beginning by getting the trust of those that are around you first and then work towards the outside of that. So thank you for sharing that. We appreciate you. Well, Abigail, we've come to the close of this segment. I want to thank you again for being on the show. Your insights, your experience, speaks for itself. And I think our viewers are going to have an amazing time learning from you. So I want to give you a brief, just quick minute to just kind of showcase how our viewers can get in touch with you.
Great, I appreciate that. Thank you so much, and thank you for having me. This is a lovely little engagement we have going on. You can find me on jerseycoastfamilylaw.com. I do recommend you do that because it gives you a lot of insight into the firm and the practice area and our philosophies. And you can call 732-361-4718. That's a direct line, obviously, to make an appointment, but we do recommend you look at the website first just to make sure we can mesh.
Absolutely. All right. Thank you so much, Abigail. We appreciate you being here, and I look forward to our continued conversations. All
Me
right,
too.
folks.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. It's our pleasure. All right, folks, we're going to take a quick commercial break. We'll be right back. Stay right there.